Coach, could you take us through what you guys were looking for in that huddle on that play to Cam Matthews and kind of how that play worked out for y'all?
If it didn't work out, there'd be hundreds of people questioning me of why we ran a live play down one. I didn't think about that when we were going through the process of making a decision on what we needed to run at that point. Certainly, you know, that point in the game, you know, a lot of people have a lot of suggestions, and I'm glad they do. And James Miller suggested we run that play, and I gravitated toward it right away. It's a play we run a ton, not just here, but previous stops. It's always been in our library, if you will. And I don't think I've ever ran it, you know, when you're down one under a minute to play. I've run it in tough situations before, but never quite like that. And one of the reasons it made sense is we had run a set a little bit earlier, a possession or two, where Josh made the three, and it was basically in that same family, if you will, and it was set up nicely. And fortunately, they executed it well, and you know, we were able to get the lead. But unfortunately, at the time, it was kind of frantic. You know, I was hoping they would, you know, not celebrate too long and you know, get back and defend.
We'll stay front row middle and go to Justin.
Chris, what do you make of why sort of this team has struggled a little bit to hold on to large leads at home between, you know, tonight, the Southern game, even the North Alabama game?
Yeah, again, I mean, it's like my default answer. If I knew, I'd fix it. You know, I don't know. Certainly, you know, what we were up. I don't know, what was our biggest lead? 19-18 and 19. You know, I was going to sub. You know, and then the same guys can't play the whole game, and it didn't feel like in the second half when we subbed that we were as efficient, we were as productive. You know, the lead started, you know, going the wrong direction, and you know, Cam got in some foul trouble. You know, Sean Jones had some foul trouble. That didn't help the situation at all. We had some other guys that were in the game that just didn't play very well, and they took advantage of it. And like I tell our guys all the time, you know, like when I've been in the other shoes more often than I've been in these, and it's you just don't understand until you're there. Like, these games mean so much because it can move the needle, you know, with their program across the country. You know, it can be a galvanizing game, if you will, for programs, and it's happened to me, you know, prior to being here, and it's just hard to sometimes get that point across. I don't know why it should be at this point. We played a bunch of, you know, teams similar to that have gave us trouble or beat us even since I've arrived, but you know, human nature, I guess, kicks in a little bit, and when you have a bigger lead, you, for whatever reason, let off the gas, and they had no quit in them. And kudos to Coach Prohm, who I really respect in this business. They're very well coached. We knew that going in. He did an excellent job of game planning against our defense and got it on the floor.
We'll go ahead and go to coach's right in the front row with Paul, and then we'll go to the second row in the middle to Tanner. Paul, go ahead.
Speaking of upsets, I'm sitting here watching Northwestern about to get beat by Chicago State.
Wow.
Kind of on, not defensive wise, but offensively, you talked a lot about building confidence, seeing the ball go through the net. Do you feel like that was kind of a carryover tonight, especially in the first half?
That started the game, and even at the halftime, I mean, I don't know if I've ever coached in a game where it felt like that. I mean, at one point, I can't remember exactly when it was in the first half. It was during a timeout. You know, I started chirping at him about, you know, not having any offensive rebounds. And then I looked at the stat sheet, and we were 15 for 16 from the field. And I'm like, well, okay, dummy. Like, there was money available, you know, to them. But I was shocked. I knew we were playing well. I didn't realize that we were 15 for 16. And but what I told the staff at halftime is I don't ever remember being 15 for 16 in any game, you know, out to shoot like that. But I would have thought we would have had even a bigger lead, you know, than we did. And normally, you know, our defense kind of is what our rallying, you know, point is. And they did a good job. I mean, they did a really good job of running some things that they hadn't shown all year long. The game plan, for, you know, for our defense, and we struggled, and then we made adjustments at halftime, but they didn't run that stuff, you know, anymore. He did a really good job of having some other things ready for us. He knew we would probably adjust, so he did some other things that gave us some problems. But Yeah, that offensive, first half, it was similar to, what happened at Tulane. It's like, man, that momentum carried over. We were really sharing the ball. We were getting in the paint. We were, for the most part, getting what we wanted to do. And then as the game, waned, we had a more difficult time, getting in the paint like we did earlier in the game.
Coach, Shaq's second, game in a row in the starting lineup, 2 of his better offensive outings on the season so far. Talk about that kind of aspect he brings to that starting 5 and maybe why he's playing better as a part of it.
Yeah, I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. You'd have to ask him. I know, it's a big shot in the arm for us when he can make some baskets for us. He's usually one of our better defenders. What he's done better this year than last year is he's found ways to cut behind the defense and get himself momentum toward the goal, and then he's an excellent finisher for his size, and he's a great athlete, and he's really got a craft around the goal to put it in. He's been doing that the last couple games, and then he started the game with Tulane with the 3, and he was 2 for 2 tonight, and that's got to really make him feel good going forward, and it's nice to have another option that can shoot the basketball from beyond the arc.
We'll go back to the cameras and John, and then we'll go down to Danny P in the second row.
Chris, how would you assess kind of your team's defense in that second half tonight?
Yeah, obviously, defensively, it wasn't one of our better performances that we've had. Certainly, tape will tell the true tale, but they made some tough shots too. You got to give them credit. I mean, I thought the last 5-7 minutes, number 2, Perry, he made some really good shots. We certainly had some breakdowns. We were going back and forth if we switched the ball schemes with him because it's very unique. He plays the 4 for him. So you got a 4 or 5 ball screen. You don't see that, that often. And Jimmy's a bigger dude, and this game, drug on. He wasn't up to the level that we needed him to be up. But, I thought they made some tough shots. And like I said earlier, I thought they did a really good job of, coming up with some things, that could hurt us. And, now that we're exposed that way, we're going to have to tweak what we do because other teams will mimic it.